So what I need to do when I'm multiplying a positive by a negative. So my example is positive 6 times negative 2. So when first it's a positive and then it's a negative, that's really easy. You just think there's 6 groups of negative 2. So I can draw out 6 groups of negative 2 circles. So I draw out 1, that's one group. 2, 3, I don't have much space, I'm going to draw here. 4, 5, 6. So now I have 1, 2, and so on. 6 groups of negative 2. So now all I have to do is just count out how many circles I have. And I have negative 12 circles. So that means the answer is negative 12. That's easy. So now, my next one is what you do if you're doing the opposite. So a negative by a positive. So this is pretty much the one that confuses everybody, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. So for my example, I have negative 3 times positive 2. So what I'm going to do for this one is I have to look at this sign, this one. That means the negative. That means I have to, it tells you to remove 3 groups of positive 2. So what I have to do is first I forget all the signs and just imagine that they're both positive and think 3 times 2. That's 6. So I have to draw out 6 of these paires nulles. So now I have 6 of them, and I'm going to make them this one, these guys positive, and these ones negative. So now, what I have to do is I have to remove 3 groups, forget the negative, just remove 3 groups of positive 2. So for doing that, I need to imagine this is one group because there's 2 positives. This is what I need. This is a second group. And this is a third group. And I remove them. And why I'm doing that is because I need to remove 3 groups of positive 2. So then I look at what's left, and I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 6. So the answer should be negative 6. Now, for multiplying negative by negative is pretty easy. It's almost the same thing as positive by positive. So what I need to do is, for my example, I had negative 2 times negative 4. So all I have to do is just imagine this is how many groups, this is how many numbers in each group. So I don't need to think about the minus, I just think 2 groups of minus 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all negatives. This is one group, and 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a second group. And that's pretty much, for now, that's it. So now the negative sign in negative 2 means that I need to remove 2 groups of negative 4. So to do that, I need to make more paires nuls. So I'm going to make them over here because I don't have much space. There you go. So now I have, well, technically the same amount of negatives and positives. Now what I need to do is I need to remove 2 groups of negative 4. So if that doesn't make sense, I'm going to show. So the minus, this sign, the minus, means remove 2 groups of negative 4. Hopefully that makes sense. So I need to take 2 groups, 1, 2, of negative 4, and remove them. So now what I have left is positive 8. That's pretty easy. But technically, there is a way to do all of these multiplications way easier without all of those circles. So, and no, it is not the number line. So there's just a few things you need to remember. So I'm going to use x for this, and probably y. So I can think minus, or plus for this, plus x, and x means any number at all, times positive, I'm going to use y, positive x times positive y is going to equal, and now for the product, or the produit, I'm going to use p because that makes sense. That means the product, because I'm looking positive, positive, the product will be positive. Then, if I have, for example, positive x times negative y, I'm going to erase these lines because they confuse you a little bit. That means that if you look at it, this is positive, this is negative. Positive and negative together make negative. That means the product will be negative. And it's pretty much the same thing if my x is negative and the y is positive. It's still going to be a negative product. It's pretty much the same thing with signs. So, and then if I have 2 negatives, like negative x times negative y, then the answer will be positive. That is kind of confusing, but all you need to remember is the same thing with signs. If the symbols are the same, that's a positive. If the symbols are different, it's a negative. That's it. And I had one more example I wanted to show. So it was with temperature. It's the same thing with money. It's for word problems. So if I have a word problem that is that for every 5 hours, the temperature drops by 3 degrees. And then the question is, what is the change? What is the total change in temperature? So first, what I need to do is I need to write, so how much hours? So 5 hours. Now, hours are always positive. So that means that they're going to be positive 5. Then, I need to write out, usually the temperature is a drop. So I'm going to say the 3 degrees Celsius, for this case, is minus 3 because it's a drop in the temperature. So it's going minus 3. So now, to figure out what the total change is just positive 5, so 5 groups of negative 3. So now we know from what I said that positive and negative together make negative. So it's going to be negative 15 because 5 times 3 is 15. And so now we know that the temperature is a decrease of 15 degrees. It doesn't have to be minus 15, it's just a drop of 15 degrees. So now I'm just going to review one more example of negative and positive because I know it's really confusing. It even confuses me sometimes. So I'm going to use positive 6 times negative 7. No, that's too much. Negative 2. Let's do that. So we remember that the first number is how many groups there are, and this is how much numbers there are in a group. So we remember that there's 6 groups. So we draw out of negative 2. It's 2 groups. That's 3 groups. It's 4 groups, 5 groups, and 6 groups, and all of them have to be negative. There you go. And the answer is negative 12. So that's pretty easy. I mean, it's almost the same thing as with positives. But now I'm going to do the opposite, because now we did positive times a negative. But when it's a negative times a positive, that's when things might get confusing. So let's do this. So a negative 6 times positive 2. So now we have negative 6 groups. And you're thinking, what? How do I do this? The thing is, it isn't really negative 6 groups. It's that you're removing 6 groups. So I'll just write this out, that this means remove. The 6 means 6 groups. And then this, the positive 2, means remove 6 groups of positive 2. So now, if we were to draw it out, it would look like, first we need to do 6 times 2, forgetting the signs, that's 12. So that means we need 12 paires nuls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is just 6 paires nuls. So we need 6 more. Okay, so we need to remove 6 groups of positive 2. So in order to do that, positive 2, so we need to count up 1, 2. That's positive 2. So we circle it. Then we need another group. 1, 2. Circle it again. Because remember, it's positive and we need 2 of them. Hopefully that makes sense so far. We need another group. And another group of positive 2, and another group of positive 2, and another group of positive 2. So we remove all of these groups that we circle, and then we count what's left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Negative 12. So now we know that the answer is negative 12. But to verify, you can check. Negative and positive together make negative. So the answer has to be negative. There it is. 6 times 2 is 12. So it's negative 12. Okay, hopefully this made sense. Thank you for watching.